Alrighty, welcome back everybody. Welcome to my Ministry of Magic build. Today we are filling out the basement level of my already established Ministry of Magic. This takes place on Henford on Bagley in about I think 20 by 30 lot, God help me. And I've already built the upper half of the entire Ministry of Magic, which is to say it's just a street with a regular bar, a laundromat, a cafe, and a few other bits and bobs just to make it pretty regular. And then the secret part of the whole build is everything underneath. So in a secret bathroom branching off of the pub, you go down a set of stairs and you enter the Ministry of Magic. And golly heck, this build almost broke me. This whole big chamber, I was quite ambitious, but I was working with such a limited amount of space, and it just was a wild ride just to see if I could do it. And I was so happy with how it turned out. I recently got the Lovestruck pack, and the arches that you're seeing here is what this whole build was based around, and I love these arches. They absolutely saved my bacon in terms of this build because they just brought a whole level of grand to something that I really wanted to be quite intricate. And I sort of just had to base all of my design process around them. So I started off quite dark, and the floor is quite dark because in the movie there is this lovely tile and everything, but I brought a lot of lightness back into it. I didn't want the whole Ministry of Magic to be like it is in the movies where it's all tiles on the walls, tiles on the floors, it's very dark and moody. I wanted there to be a sort of grand lightness to it, and it's a little bit reminiscent of my Hogwarts build, so I quite liked that as well. And my god, if I thought I put down a lot of columns in Hogwarts, it's got nothing on the Ministry of Magic, especially this little first part. This little bit I'm working on right now is a multi-level entry chamber. So what you do is you come down the stairs and you enter this part, and this is meant to be the fictional entry area of the Ministry of Magic. It's where all the Flu network is connected to, and you basically step out of a very open big fireplace and you walk into the Ministry of Magic. And I wanted it to be grand and like nothing you've ever seen. And by this point I was absolutely just kicking my feet in excitement because I felt like I'd cottoned onto something really fun, while still being a little bit different from my Hogwarts build, I suppose. But as you'll probably note if you've seen both videos, there are quite a few similarities, and like the similarities, the lighting for these builds was so annoying. Like, I don't know what it is about The Sims 4, but they have trouble lighting spaces, or they have two very specific types of lighting. They have white lights, which are, your very modern lighting and everything. And then they have golden lights, which are more your lanterns, your candles. And moving in with the space and the theme of the Ministry of Magic, I went with candles, golden light. The only problem is that, those lights don't reach very far. They're not as effective as the modern white lights. So I was in a constant battle trying to make them look correct. But as you come into the Ministry of Magic, you come into this big double-story chamber, and it was really important to me that it be double-story. I was even thinking of doing like 3 stories, but then I had some plans for the courthouse and the Hall of Prophecies and the Veil of Death, so I decided to just do 4 basement levels, half it up. The first half of the 2 levels is the entry and the ministry itself, and then the bottom 2 levels are your offices, your aura department, your courtroom, your everything, and I think it really worked out. So right now I am throwing everything at the wall in terms of decoration. I wanted it to be obscenely detailed, and just as much as I could possibly get away with in terms of color tone and everything. And in the beginning of this build, I tried really hard with like elevators, but I had a vague notion that we did have elevators in The Sims, and then I tried it out and I'm like, oh, that's not really what I was going for. Because you can only place 1 elevator in a lot at a time, and people will just spawn outside that elevator. That's not really what I was going for. I'd really love it if EA could come out with some elevators, teleporters, a little effect like that, because getting Sims from A to B, especially in secret builds, which I'm a big fan of doing, is a little bit tricky because I've got to deal with ladders, I've got to deal with stairs, and it really takes away the magic of the effect if I have to, deal with all those impediments. So an elevator or some kind of in-canon teleporter would be so fantastic if you could do that really quick for me. Thank you so much. Love you. But yeah, so at the moment I'm just focusing on the floor. I wanted it to be dark but intricate, and then I just basically went around and I liked it to have a bit of a contrast between the cream of the walls and the darkness of the floors. And then I'm just adding in every single little space with finer details, any kind of trim I can find in a similar shade of cream. It's very Hogwarts, but I don't care. I was in a mood and I liked it. I had to take it back at some points and go, okay, less arches, more windows, and I think it turned out really lovely. And you know what? I was constrained by how small the lot was. I believe it was a 20 by 30, and I don't know how I did that. Like I'm thinking in my head, 20 by 30, that's not a lot, and it's not. And somehow I still ended up with this massive, magical, beautiful Ministry of Magic, and I fit so much into it, and I wasn't intending to do so. I started out the Ministry of Magic build saying, okay, I'll just do a few little things, I'll make the big chamber, and it's not going to have too much detail to it. And then I started to think what actually is at the Ministry of Magic. So admin, a cafeteria, elevators, which don't exist in The Sims, a mail room that they, send their mail from, perhaps international mail, and stuff like that. You've got to have your creature regulations department, your muggle department, and then you've also got the main things that you've got in canon. So like the courtroom that Harry goes to when he violates the magical laws, and it's a whole farce and everything, and Dumbledore's there and he's really exasperated. And the Veil of Death, where poor Sirius passes from this world, but not in my storyline, he is still alive. And what else? Dolores Umbridge's office, and the minister's office, and the Hall of Prophecies, where it's just a bunch of shelves and little glowing things, and I'm like, this is going to be like Hogwarts, isn't it? It's going to take over my life, and I'm not going to be able to stop until it's absolutely perfect. As you can see, I'm doing a lovely fountain at this point, and I wanted the fountain to be reminiscent of what you saw in the movies, something really grand, something that's very in theme for what the magical community would do for itself. So it's meant to represent magical folk on the very top, and then below them magical creatures, and below them muggles. So you've got everyone with rings, everyone with, on the top of the fountain is all very elegant, and then one step down you have like the Pegasus, I think, and that's meant to represent the magical creatures, not quite on par with the rest of the magical community, but still part of it. And then obviously on the very bottom, the whole fountain is resting upon the shoulders of the muggles and, muggleborns and everything, and it's not that great or fun, and I felt like it really worked as a concept, and I was glad I was able to add it in. Had to mix a lot of stuff together though for it to actually make sense. And then I just went through and I added in suits of armor, very, Hogwarts, trying to make it look just fuller. And I got to a certain point in this main antechamber where I was like, okay, the foundations are down, now what? And I had to sort of figure out what was going to be what. And these little rooms that are on the sides of the main hall, they're not massive. They're actually incredibly small. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have to fit in like an admin department and everything and, try and fit it all in. But first I had to sort of get everyone down here. So with some wrangling, I was able to get a staircase and get everybody down here, but it was a whole process. But I really like how you actually enter the Ministry of Magic. In canon, you go through either a toilet or a red phone box randomly, but in my one, you do go through a pub bathroom, and if you walk past the bathrooms through a secret bookcase door, then you go down to the Ministry of Magic. It's still a little bit secret, but it's really cool, and Honestly, it feels really empty because only so many Sims can be on a lot at once, and this lot is so big. But I suppose Hogwarts feels quite small in the same way. But I loved it so much. And honestly, I had so much room left over. But I did like how it turned out. And honestly, I sometimes just had to stop myself and go stop building immediately because you were getting tired and your work is starting to suffer because you're not building right, you're not building good. So there were moments where I was just like, stop, go to bed. But I think it all worked out and quite happy with it. And something actually really unfortunate happened while I was building. I did a whole lot, like I decorated the whole main chamber of the Ministry of Magic, and then for whatever reason I decided while I was still recording to just close my laptop, and the file got corrupted and here we are. So I do apologize. I completely did not record anything about creating the upstairs cafeteria or anything like that, but there is an admin department, there is a mail room that you can go and send owls from, there's a cafeteria and a cafe, and then down here, as you can see, I'm doing a big hallway that's sort of very reminiscent of the chamber above. And it's all sort of same, and this is where you get into the nitty-gritty of the actual Ministry of Magic. It was all pomp and circumstance before, but this is the actual functionality of the building. So it's double story, and it has these beautiful custom elevators that I designed with, just life and death windows, some nice tile flooring, and that's really it. And a ladder and the doors you get from, I believe, the Horse Ranch pack, just because I really wanted a nice antique elevator to go down here, and I like how it turned out, and I wanted to have more than one elevator, and Sims was not going to stop me, so I wasn't going to let that ruin my evening. So as you can see, it's all double story, it's really beautiful, and as you come into this first chamber, it's basically a big T intersection hallway, and on one side you have the Hall of Prophecies, which is already built, as you can see in the background, and it's blue and it's got lots of shelves and cobwebs, and I actually had a lot of trouble finding what I wanted a stand-in for as the actual prophecies themselves. I eventually went with a beautiful candle that I coloured blue, and I just put them all on as many shelves as I could and replicated it as much as I could. And then above the Hall of Prophecies is actually the Aura department. So I wanted that quite close to the main entry of the Ministry of Magic, because you have to sort of go through security before you get to, the Minister of Magic's office and Dolores Umbridge's office and the courthouse and everything. So it's not as much as I could have fit in, but it is quite a lot. And I feel like I prioritized what I needed to. But for the meantime, it's all decoration, it is all lamps and everything, and I love it so much. I feel like I've come a long way in terms of building the last few months. Like I feel like my ability to build has just increased because I've been doing it so constantly, and I've been learning new skills, and yes, it's a good place to be. So within the Aura department, you enter it from stairs, you go up the stairs, and you have 2 jail cells directly across from you, and I wanted their jail cells to be pretty close to the entrance, just because if they're escorting someone in, they want to be able to keep an eye on them, but they want that jail cell to be quite close and accessible at hand. Off to the left is a public bathroom and the head Aura's office, which I wanted to be very, cluttered, and someone who works there is very tired. And as you can see, I'm doing the jail cells. They're just your basic, generic jail cells. It's probably, I suppose, a little cleaner than the Hogwarts ones, but I'm still honestly completely uncomfortable with the fact that we have jail cells. But you know what? It's canon, and I'm going to go for it. And then the bathroom actually turned out a lot fancier than I was intending. It's this beautiful green wallpaper, black and white flooring number with brown and gold accents. It's lovely, and there's only one, so the whole Aura department has to share one bathroom. They better take care of it. And then we move on to the head Aura's office. I wanted it to be, one office is like any other, but I do go in and I add some defining characteristics in it. So the rug is very worn. There's a lot of clutter and books about. I do use the Life and Death fireplace because I just feel like it's one of the best fireplaces in the game, and I love it so much. It's very ornate and it's very period appropriate, and I feel like everything in the magical world is a bit old-fashioned, so we do that. And then of course I added in like a big shelf of drinks for the head aura's office, just because I felt like he might need that on hand because his job is very stressful and we want him to have nice things. And then we've got some lovely red accents, a map, and I think I go through and I add like some trophies, some plants, some clutter, some books, and there's like an espionage thing on his main desk and absolute files everywhere, and it's really cute. I like it so much. And then I think we move over into the actual aura department, and thank goodness, because the pack I used mainly for that was Get to Work. The police station came so in handy. I wasn't interested in keeping it too old-fashioned in there. I feel like they would probably step it up a little bit for their aura department. So it's very obvious it's a magical police station. It's not got too much magic to it, but it's very obvious it's a police station. I did try and find like the mugshot stuff and everything where you take fingerprints and take mugshots and stuff, but I could not find it for the life of me, so it didn't get put in. But we do have, you know, like the billboard and the desks and everything, and I do a little waiting room, and I think it's so charming and fun. I did briefly consider how I was going to do like the mail system within the Ministry of Magic. So apparently there's like paper planes that are meant to fly around and everything. I don't know how I'm meant to do that. We do not have a paper plane in The Sims 4, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, what do I do? So I didn't do anything, and I kind of regret that a little bit, honestly. I can go back and add something in, it's never too late, and I am planning to actually go back sometime when I'm finished with Harry Potter, which actually will be soon, and just adding in all the finer little details that I've sort of put off. So there's a certain little list that I sort of want to, you know, go and do. So I want to give everyone a wand, I want to give people their appropriate career positions, within reason. You know, teachers have to be teachers, Albus Dumbledore has to be a headmaster, auras have to be police, and so on and so forth. So we have to sort of keep it realistic. And then I'm just adding that to the list. Maybe I can add it in. I have to figure out some kind of paper thing that actually makes sense as something that would float around the Ministry of Magic as a mail system, so I will give that some thought. But then we move over to the dreaded woman herself, Dolores Umbridge's office. I already built her an office in Hogwarts, but I felt like she needed another office here in the Ministry because this is where she does actually work when she's not terrorizing children. So we do go and give her an office that's very much like the one she has in Hogwarts. It's just a little bigger. It's not round, but it's got your tea, it's got your fireplace and your desk and everything, and she's obviously got like the law enforcement big badge behind her fireplace, and I think that, you know, it's lots of pinks. It's a little bit more elegant than I probably should have done. It should probably be a little bit more garish, I'd say, but you know what, I kind of like how it turned out. And the chairs are modern, definitely the chair behind her desk and then the armchairs surrounding her desk, they're very modern, but they were pink, and I just sort of had to go with them because I was running out of options. But it's obviously the pink wallpaper and everything, and we do try our best here, as always. And now we come to the Veil of Death room. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted it to be a multi-story room, and I was so limited with how much space I actually ended up having because, as you can see, it's tiny. Like, if the lot itself was tiny, a 20 by 30, I only have a little itty bitty space to work with in terms of creating a really dramatic Veil of Death room. So what I did was, I wanted it to be double story. I wanted the bottom section to be mostly rocks that surround the platform that the veil hangs out on, and I wanted it to be quite intricate. So I went through and I got my live edit objects out and I did rocks, and tried to still make a functional path to the Veil of Death, because obviously there's a door down there and I still wanted all of the rocks to actually branch up. So they cover the floor quite effectively, but I wanted some that really almost reached the second floor and upwards, and really wanted it to make it quite a dramatic effect. And I feel like I did okay, but I was very limited by what objects I was using and still making it functional in such a small space. But she worked out. I love how she turned out. She's so pretty. But I did have the biggest pain in the ass time of getting someone from the door to the room up onto the platform and through the actual portal, because in Realm of Magic you do get portals, so you get like a portal to the magic realm, and it was perfect as the Veil of Death, and there's even a broken one you can use. So there was a lot of trial and error to get a staircase that was mostly hidden, or a ladder. I started with a ladder and then I changed my mind later, but I did manage to get a wrought iron staircase that snakes around the platform in a kind of, I suppose, organic effect, and still gets a sim actually onto the platform really effectively and through the Veil of Death. And the Veil of Death had to, not hit the ceiling. I wanted the ceiling to be really cool, and also to have, the appropriate level of gravitas to the room. So as you can see, I'm just going through and trying to place my Veil of Death in a way that makes sense. I love that it has a blue-green glow to it, and with that blue-green glow, I was really inspired to put down some crystals. It's not canon, but I wanted to tie the room together really well, so there are magical crystals just bursting out of the rocks that surround the column itself, and I do put in some lighting effects just to make it glow a little bit more, and she is so fun and I like her so much. I do go and add in some windows, and the lighting in the room is tinged very blue, and then the ceiling itself is actually, it's got some pillars and everything, and it's the night sky like you'd see in the Grand Hall of Hogwarts. So that's the same effect that I used here, and it's so darling and beautiful, and I like it so much. And it's not as big as I'd hoped, but it's still a really, really fun room, and I'm so glad I was able to sort of give it a go and get to a place where I was really happy with it. Dolores Umbridge was my playtester, and it even works. It's a functional portal, so if you go through the Veil of Death in the Ministry of Magic, you die, but in my save, it takes you to Hogwarts, and that's so cool. Like, I have a few magical portals around in a lot of my builds, and they just all take you to Hogwarts, and I think that's really special and fun. It's the only teleportation system we have, and I utilize it so much as I can. Now, we are finally coming to the sort of other areas of the Ministry of Magic. So we've only really got a few left. I wanted to add in a courthouse where Harry gets, tried and everything, Minister of Magic's office, and then I wanted a private chamber where all of the lords of the noble houses and anyone that's, got votes within the Ministry of Magic on laws and such can go and hang out and have a drink between sessions of Parliament. So I actually built a little lounge for them next to the courthouse. But the courthouse, oh my god, it's beautiful. I haven't built it yet, but you'll see in a sec. It's lovely. Like, I had images from what would happen in the movie, and it was a very big room, and it's circular, and it's just levels with a lot of dark tones. And it's like on the very bottom level, right in the middle, you've got a chair, and then everyone just hangs over you. You feel really overbearing in that room, especially if you're down the bottom. And it feels like there's a million people sitting around you, breathing down your neck, and I really wanted to encompass that. So I decided to play with levels a lot and stairways, and it's obviously a double-story room, so I added to the effect of that, and it really just worked out. And I wanted a lot of dark tones. It felt really breathless and dusty and just severe, and I think it's perfect. I love how it turned out. I love my courthouse, and I wanted to do just intricate details in terms of the decoration. So it's all wood tones, it's lots of pillars, it's a very specific type of fence, and then it's just decorate, fill in any blank spaces, fill in the walls, get the lighting correct, get the flooring correct, and just fill it up and see how many chairs you can actually fit into that space. I do put down a lot of benches, and then I just sort of add as much lighting as I possibly can, but it turned out so darling. It's my favorite room of the Ministry of Magic. If I can toot my own horn for a moment, I nailed it. I love when that happens. Like you have a vision in your head and you go, yeah, that worked. I nailed it. Oh, so good. So now we come to the actual decorating of the courtroom, and I really enjoyed this part. So obviously you've got the chair right in the middle, and it was really important to me that the chair look uncomfortable or just really dramatic. And then obviously I'd already sort of boxed myself in, so I needed to have a lot of seating around me. I couldn't put individual chairs into most of it, but I could fit lots of dark benches, and I feel like benches really help it because it is a courtroom and everyone has to sit in their seat and look down at the person on display, so they have their little bit there. And then I was just able to add in some other chairs. I like the idea that it's a class system, so you've got the people that are sitting in the benches are maybe within the Parliament of the Magical World. They have not so many votes, maybe just 1 or 2. And then as you get higher in the stands, you get a real chair and you have a little more votes. So you're a bit more upper class kind of thing, or you're a bit more important. And then as obviously the purebloods would sit right upstairs in the second part of the build. So they'd be up right in the gallery, looking down from their balconies, and I actually made sure that their chairs are, quite dramatic and comfortable. They've got like some wine and everything on display for them if they get thirsty during the proceedings. It's really awful. And I think it's just really fun and dramatic, and I'd hate to be the person that's sitting down the bottom just being judged and everything. I really like the desk that I did for I can never pronounce what it is, but it's basically the judge, and they overlook the proceedings. I suppose it would be the Minister of Magic, maybe, who's overseeing everything. But yes, I do like his desk. I think it's really dramatic, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to fit it in, but I did like it how it turned out. Here's me struggling with the lighting as always. It's always a trial to do lightings in this build, but I really love the lighting that we got with, I believe that's Life and Death. It's still the greatest pack ever, and I like it so much. In terms of furnishing for the room, it's basically a lot of seating, it's a lot of lighting, and then I wanted to add in little specific areas of books, files that maybe people brought in from outside and left there. There's a lot of candles and books and shoes and everything, and just fit in what I could to fill the space. So as we move along to the end of the build, I'm currently making the second last room of the build. I wanted a little sort of public area that you could still have drinks, still have a good time, but if you're not like within the upper house of the Lords, you can still hang out here, but then you have a real sectioned off area that actually goes into the private lounge of, say, all the purebloods and everything. So it's very elitist and it's very fancy in this little club area. So I wanted a little public section and then an area where, you know, Lucius Malfoy and all his friends hang out on Sunday afternoons drinking and just being very self-important. So with their private lounge, I know it's red, and I know that's very Gryffindor-y, but I don't much mind. I'm not concerned about, you know, I feel like after they leave school, certain colours lose their significance. Yes, they still like the colour green, but it's still a really nice colour. It's opulent and, you know, it ties into their richness. So I think it's really fun. So the lounge is absolutely packed and I didn't have much room, but I feel like it's still really sweet. There's obviously booze absolutely everywhere, some pamphlets of maybe current court cases, but no one's really paying attention or putting much stock in that. It's all just areas to sit and hang, and this is, you know, the upper crust of the area. It's the only place where they can go, yes, I'm so important, haha. And I wanted to add in a little bar in there and everything, and thankfully we do have a really small bar now, so I was able to get that done. But really, that's mostly it for the pureblood section. It's a fun little room and I'm glad I added it in. And now we are just coming to the finishing touches of the build. I think I do go in and I add a little bit of glow to one of the Hall of Prophecies, just so you can sort of have a little sneak peek of like, oh, is that Harry's prophecy? And I just like the individuality of it. Gives the room a lot of character. And then I just wanted some cracks and some spider webs, and this is really just me polishing off the Ministry of Magic, but that is it. Thank you so much for coming along, everyone. I hope you enjoyed my Ministry of Magic build. I had so much fun making it, but I was really relieved when it was done because I was getting Hogwarts vibes and I'm not ready to commit to something so big again. Oh, I need some smaller builds. I need to stop being so ambitious. But thank you so much for coming along. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to like and subscribe if you care to, but otherwise I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.